So back in January of this year, I started a project which I thought was just going to be something I'll do over the weekend, but has since grown, and I called it African HERstory. And I picked, first of all, that name because I wanted to use, obviously, the term African because I wanted it to really encapsulate not just Nigerian, all the countries and nations in Africa, but also to extend to women in the diaspora. I thought that was very important. And then HERstory is basically a play on history. And I wanted to kind of go back into what does it mean to be an African woman and to tell it from the African female perspective, hence I use the term HERstory. And it's essentially a journey of filming who I believe are really amazing women who are professionals in various areas, creative, bankers, doctors, etc. And just asking them to talk about what they've done. Why are they brilliant? Why are they ambitious? What fuels them? What are the challenges they've experienced? And almost creating a multi-generational platform where their peers can learn from them, people younger than them can learn from them, and people older than them can learn from them. I strongly believe in the value of telling stories, and I think everyone has a story to tell that someone else, at least one person, can learn from. So I wanted to be able to capture that and encapsulate that, and I thought the best way to do that was visually. I mean, this is why I believe in the value of storytelling and using it in a visual manner, because I think the more young girls and young women see strong women in the media, I mean, we are generally motivated by what we see, either what we're reading in the papers, what we're watching on TV, you know, in the movies, etc. So the more we see positive female role models, particularly Black and African women, the more you've got the younger girls who are saying, oh wow, so I can be a doctor. There are multiple women like me who are doctors, who may have come from privilege, may not have come from privilege. And you know, sometimes people say to me, oh, you know, you head up an investment banking business, you know, you must have had blah, 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 blah. And I say, you don't even know my story. I don't come from money. I was raised by a single mother. You know, I paid my own school tuition by working morning, noon, and night. So you can't make assumptions about people. But I always had that belief by looking at my mom. My mom was an educated woman. My mom was a banker. So I knew that, and she didn't come from privilege either. So I knew, you know, hard work gets you there. And I think the more and that's what really motivated me, is to make sure those images exist so that other people can look and say, listen, you don't always have to be confident. There are a lot of times I'm not confident, but I almost have to give myself that pep talk. And you don't always, and I don't think men are always confident as well. I think people have this idea of masculinity sometimes sets men up to fail because people think men always have the answer. And it's not true. As humans, you know, we are real. Sometimes we have the answer, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have confidence, sometimes we don't. And women have to understand that just because you're not confident in that moment doesn't mean that you're not smart, doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be in the room, and doesn't mean that you can't go figure it out and come back and give the answer. So I think it's really just sending those messages that you deserve to be here, you are intelligent, if you work hard, you can sit at the table just with another man and other women and take your role in society, whatever that role is. And the whole point, I think, is about choice. It's saying you can choose to be a stay-at-home mom if you want, you can choose to go to work, you can choose to be a doctor, you can choose to not be. You can choose anything, and the goal is to be able to give women that choice without judgment. Well, I mean, I don't know the exact statistic, but I think it's somewhere, almost half of women in Africa in some way or the other are entrepreneurs. So I don't think we have a challenge in terms of getting up and starting a business. And entrepreneur is a very broad term if you ask me. I think it's actually a mindset as opposed to a way of life. So you can be a worker for someone and have a very entrepreneurial mindset. There are a lot of women who just say, you know what, I can see in this neighborhood I live in, people want bananas and there are no bananas. So they go to another neighborhood, go get bananas, and they come and they sell. And I think women, time immemorial, have had to contribute constructively to their families. And as we've gone from a hunter-gatherer society to more developed, again, as I said, you know, masculinity sometimes tends to be too heavy on men. Sometimes you have a man who doesn't have the same education as a woman, or he doesn't have enough money to look after the family. And increasingly you're finding women have to chip in financially. And that's why you're starting to see the proliferation of female entrepreneurs. And I think women just gravitate towards their area of confidence. And I have seen female entrepreneurs in virtually every sector. I mean, I have a friend who's a doctor. She worked in multiple hospitals and now has started her own practice. I have 3 friends in that category. I have a friend who was a banker and now has set up an events planning company. I think women gravitate towards what they know, what they're confident in, where they feel their skills are, and they're very happy to set up a very small business with or without a few number of employees to start off, but to just get going. And I think that's amazing. I think that you can wake up one morning and say, I would like to set up an enterprise. It doesn't have to be a massive manufacturing enterprise, but it's something that I have the skills to start now. I can start to see if there is demand for my product or my service and start making money so I can look after my family. So I want to say to the African man that Africa is a mess as a continent. We have a lot of issues. Starting from infrastructure challenges, educational challenges, banking system instability. I mean, just think of everything. We've got the challenges, okay? And we need to very quickly utilize our best resource to get through our challenges. Our best resource are our people. We've got over 1 billion people sitting on this continent. You cannot say that 50% should be making babies and be in the kitchen. That's silly. The 50% who are not making babies and in the kitchen clearly haven't done enough to take the continent out of the mess it's in. So I think we should challenge ourselves to a paradigm shift. Use the other 50%. Establish a collaboration. Don't be intimidated by women. I mean, I can speak only for myself. I am a married woman. I'm married to a man. We are partners. I'm not trying to engage in a domestic battle with my husband. We are complementary, we are partners, we are equal, we have different roles to play. He can't make babies, but there are things he can do. There are things I can do that are better than him. So I think what I would say to African men is, take women on really as partners. It doesn't mean that the continent will sink because women are leading the day. I think women are leading the day anyway. It's very important that you understand it, that you galvanize all of the women together so that we can get this continent moving in the way that it needs to be. But you asked me a question earlier on about investment, and I think so investment is actually a very black or white issue. It's not a male or female issue. If you have capital and you want to invest your capital in a business, your main goal is whether this capital is going to give you a positive return. You don't want to invest $1 and get back 50 cents. You'd rather invest $1 and get back $2. So I think what I would say is give women a chance when they pitch their businesses or you meet a female entrepreneur. Give her as much of a chance as you would a man. And then if she doesn't stack up, don't invest. But at least give her the same chance. I think what women are asking for is an equal playing field. I don't think we're saying we are better than men. We're just saying we want to be the same. And we want to be the same in the way that we understand we do very different things, but we do things that are equally as good as men. Well, I think that the fear part is the first thing. I think, for me at least, fear is a very natural emotion, and I think it's a healthy emotion. People who don't have fear, I think, are psychotic. So it's healthy to be afraid, but you must act in spite of fear. So that's the first thing I should tell them is a lot of people say, oh, well, I was very fearful about this, so I didn't do it because the fear told me that it wasn't meant to be done. And I say that's actually cowardice, actually. Be courageous and go past that fear. And I think just try things, right? Just keep trying things. You may, and don't get too emotionally attached to a business idea, honestly. Some businesses are just not meant to thrive. So if you have a really great idea that is not working out, don't be emotional. Shut it down. That's my honest opinion. Go into the next idea. One of your ideas is really going to work. Give yourself that opportunity, give yourself that space, give yourself the space to think about the different options that are out there and put your 100% behind it. But the other thing I want to say is, women should start thinking about scalable businesses. I find, a lot of the businesses we run are very, very small. And if we're thinking about entrepreneurship as really helping, we heard a factoid earlier today, I think by 2050, there'll be 2.5 billion people in Africa, and I think about half of them are going to be young people. We have got to figure out what these people are going to be doing. What kind of work are they going to be doing? How are we going to keep our skills current for that day's society? And I think entrepreneurship can really help. But if people are creating such fragmented businesses that hire 1 or 2 or 3 people, we're not retrofitted for that, to meet that kind of population growth. So I just really encourage women who are naturally good at catalyzing ideas and investment and bringing people together. Think about how you can scale your business. You started off with 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, but think about a course to get yourself to 1,000 people, to 2,000 people, to 3,000 people. And that's what I don't think we're seeing in Africa yet, a woman who is running a very scaled enterprise that she created. And I'm really hoping that in the next 10 to 15 years, we have multiple examples of that. So that's my advice to women. Keep trying different things, act in spite of fear, and think big.